Oh, I've got an itchy head and my camera's on my visor. 2 seconds. Oh, stalled it. Oh, itchy head. There we go. So a few weeks ago, I rode this lane, and this lane's I think about 1.5 miles long. And I did it on my old GS with all the luggage, and I did it quite slowly due to ability, confidence, trust in the tyres. I had all my luggage on, and I had my son following me with a tripod, so we had to do many stops. And now I've got the new bike, interestingly the same tyres, the Next Torrance 2s. I wanted to give it another go, tried to do it a little bit faster but stay within my comfort zone, wherever my comfort zone happens to be. But I did mention on that road that I wish I had the Nox Urbane Mark II on, which I've now got. As you know, it's a hotter day today, it's 24 degrees. It's not so bad in the shade, but when you get into the sun, I'm not a big fan of the heat, so I'm going to suffer. So I thought this would be a good opportunity to test it out on maybe a sort of more technical ride, at least technical for my ability. I'm sure a lot of you out there would put me to shame. But I also thought it'd be a good opportunity to give this a proper test. Now, I've done 800 miles in this helmet. It's incredibly light, it's incredibly airy, and I want to do this ride where I'm very hot in it and give it a proper sort of review to see if it's worth the money. So I've only got this one camera with me, so I will stop a couple of times and change the position. There won't be a lot of talking through it, you won't hear me anyway. I am going to time myself to see how long it takes, including the camera changes. That might be quite interesting, and we'll see how we get on. So with that, wish me luck. Cheers. So we will start the camera in this position, and I'll put it on my helmet for a bit and maybe down on the crash bars. But let's see how we go. So where we go. At this point here, all I'm thinking about is getting my balance right. As I said, I'm very novice off-road. The road feels a lot gravelier than it did last time. It probably isn't, it's just my imagination. But particularly coming into like this corner here, it's a blind bend. I don't want to put the front brake on. I don't have the skills to save it if it does want to low side me. But it's difficult because you're trying to look ahead of yourself to see where you're going, but also very aware of what's right in front of you. I'm sure the technique is bloody awful, but it's a good experiment for me. Now, you're a bit of a straight ahead and you want to kind of open it up a little bit. You're not trying to perform for the camera, but I'm getting up to about 20 mile an hour here, 25 mile an hour. Again, I know the road dips down, I believe, or dips round anyway. So again, a blind bend, I don't want to have to stamp on the anchors because I will not be able to react fast enough. Here the camera is moving quite a lot on its mount, so I whip it off and I then put it onto my helmet. Right, hopefully that camera is at a good angle. You can get a gist of the road. Get that out of the way. And away we go. So again, another blind bend. I know I can go quicker, but if I have to stamp on the brakes, I'm going to drop it. But as this road stretches out, the gravel is about sort of yay big, sort of just a little bit less than golf ball size, and there's a lot of it and a lot of potholes. But I think it's a level of commitment I'm trying to put into this to make sure that I can ride over the problem, as it were. Very tight road, as you can see. What I'm just saying there, without having all my luggage on the bike like I did last time, I can feel the difference in the weight. That's good in a way that I don't feel like that big fat ass wallowing about, but it does make the back end a little bit squirrely.
And I would rather go too slow.
And I'm just saying there that this bike's only a week old, so I'd rather go a little bit slower than drop a brand new 24 grand bike. It would make me very sad. But again, these straighter bits allow them to pick up the confidence. Fortunately, that camera body on a stick is not too distracting. Nice bit of shade here, relief away from the sun, which I do not like. Oh, I've got an itchy head and my camera's on my visor. 2 seconds. Oh, stalled it. Oh, itchy head. There we go. The dappling of the shade to the right bright doesn't really make any difference in terms of visibility. The visor's doing its job fantastically for me. The road sort of it's still very gravelly and very stony, but a little bit flatter in places, so helping to build up confidence. But again, another tricky blind bend. Now, if I remember rightly here, as I come into this next 400-500 yards, it is all over the shop. But I think it's just confidence. I think that as I'm going slower, the bike's cutting into it. If I was going quicker, I guess it would just skip over it a little bit. I'd like to try that on someone else's bike and not mine. But now I know, because I've done this road a couple of times now, it's sort of opening up. I'm going to get into sort of a normal lane. The first time I did this, it had rained severely. I did it in the car, and the road was it looked a lot worse because there were massive puddles everywhere. But yeah, we're picking up a bit of speed now. We're probably doing about 30 miles an hour, I think 35 maybe. But for a short little exercise for a novice, I think it's a good track. I'd love to take Fred out with me from Boxer Work so he could show me how it's done. I think he could probably do it twice while I was still halfway round. Again, the back end and the front end, I can feel it. Again, I think that's just down to potentially a lack of speed from my part. It's funny, like 19 years I've been riding, but it doesn't mean I'm any good at doing this because I've never really done it before. Now the road is a little bit nicer. Well, compared to what it was, then I know when we get to this house, we get into some normal road. And there you go. I need to do that a few more times, I think. And there we go. Maybe a bit less than a mile and a half. Let's pop the camera back in its body and wrap up. So I did that a bit faster than last time. Not that that would have been difficult. I'm definitely a super duper novice off-road. 25 mile an hour, 30 mile an hour hit my peak. I could feel I could go a little bit quicker. But I think it's about a level of commitment that I'm not prepared to put into it at the moment. Because at that slower speed, whilst you feel more confident that you're going slower, you do feel the tyres to be a little bit more squirrely, as I said. Now, as for the kit, this Nox Urbane jacket is a game changer. Just have a t-shirt underneath this on this hot day and doing that again. I'm a novice, I'm putting more effort in than an experienced person might do, but having this lightness, knowing I've got all the armour I need, is fantastic. And lastly, this helmet. As I said, I've done 800-900 miles on this helmet now. 1.3 kilos in a large, the Coroid, I think it's called, and I'll show you when I get home. The honeycomb green mesh, or the straws that makes up the protection of the helmet can take up to 48 times more load than the polystyrene that helmets traditionally have. The transitions lens is exceptional. I read some reviews and said it didn't get dark enough, but for me it works absolutely fine. And I've ridden directly heading west into the sun, and it didn't cause me any concerns. Before, I used to have just the internal visor down of my Shoei. I can sit this open about a crack and it sits open like that. It's giving me all the protection I want for my eyes, but still letting lots of air in, and the venting is fantastic. 660 quid, is it worth it? Absolutely. It is the best helmet I've ever had, and I couldn't recommend it highly enough. So with that, I'm going to head home. But that was an interesting ride, and something I think I'll keep doing, as it's a nice easy stretch for me to build some confidence up in riding off-road, and particularly on this new bike as I get used to riding it. As I said, I definitely noticed not having the weight on the back with all my panniers, and that made it a different riding experience, which is good, right? That's how we learn. Anyway, if you could hit subscribe, hit like, write a comment, that'd be awesome. Cheers.